Here we are for episode 2 of Four Guys on a Chesterfield. We have Zoltan.
Not quite on the Chesterfield, but close enough.
Dave.
Hi.
And we have our first guest, Miles Jackson, CEO of Cole Clark Guitars Australia. He's come in to tell us a bit about his time in the industry, what he does at Cole Clark, and some Cole Clark guitars. So, welcome, Miles. Thanks for coming along.
Thank you. I feel like I'm very important because I made the Chesterfield. It's actually on the Chesterfield, so that's very comfortable.
Yep. Most important people get to Chesterfield.
That's right. Exactly. I got kicked off.
Yeah. So
You'll be sitting here next time.
So we're at obviously KC's Rock Shop, which is the closest dealer to Cole Clark. I got in my car 3 minutes ago, and I'm here. So
it's pretty close.
You should have seen
pretty
his
handy.
maneuvers pulling up here. That was pretty
That's
entertaining
right.
in itself.
it's the fastest backward reverse that you've ever seen in your life. So anyway, which is great, and these guys have got a fabulous range of Cole Clark guitars because they can come down the factory and mooch through.
That's right.
So it's
hand-pick.
And rotate some stock, and
it's a bit damn unfair, really.
it is a little bit.
But don't tell the other guys.
Don't tell the others.
That's right.
So you're a bit of an industry veteran. You've been doing this for how long?
Since 1979. I don't know how many hours, how many
hours?
how many years that is.
I was born in '79.
There you go. Sorry, mate. So a few years, coming up for 40 or so. Or
Wow.
something like that. And I started working in a little music shop in Camberwell, and just in a retail shop, and then went on to other retail shops. Worked in London in retail shops there, with a place called Rose Morris.
Yep.
And came back and was started Billy High Blackburn store. So I've got a long history of retail in Melbourne, and I was part of that until 2010.
The old powerhouse.
So I come at this with great empathy for both the retailer and the customer, having dealt extremely widely with all of those things, had a role of training people on how to sell our products, how to sell full stop, how to and purchasing of products and all that within that group in the end. I've then worked for QSC audio company, Asia Pacific sales manager. Did that for a bit of distribution, and then in 2012 I found myself at Cole Clark. I've been a shareholder since 2001, but then I became CEO in 2012. So it's been just a bit over 5 years now, and it's been a journey. It's been really interesting and fun. We've come a long way, I think. The product's certainly changed, evolved.
That certainly has, yeah. So when was Cole Clark established?
2001.
That was, so you've been there right from the start.
Yeah, I was the original shareholder
right from the beginning. Yeah.
But just as a shareholder back then.
Yep.
Not as anything else. So it's been a really good journey.
Yeah, great. And obviously there's been highs and lows there over the years.
Yes.
We've had fires at one point that wiped you out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which we could smell from here.
I drove
You
past.
probably
that one.
we could. You would have been able to. God, there was the Channel 7 chopper, and there was
You could see it all from here.
it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So it was like a $1.8 million fire. So
That hurts.
It was a big one. So we were out of production for 5 months.
Yeah. But that gave you opportunity to reinvest in new machinery, didn't it?
Yeah, we added money to the insurance money, and then reshuffled the factory and got some new, the replacement paint booth is better than the old paint booth, and one of the CNCs that was replaced was probably good that it was replaced, and it was, there's a whole lot of things, and then we rebuilt the setup room in a much better place, which made more sense, and it was bigger and all that. So, yeah, a lot of different stuff, a lot of climate control stuff in all the factories now, and whereas the last building actually wasn't part of the factory; it was a storage area, so it wasn't climate controlled. Now, all 3 buildings are the factory, and they're all climate controlled and all that. So there's lots of stuff that happened behind the scenes, and lots of stuff to the product, because you've got 5 months with no production. You're able to do weird things, like we changed the codes because we used to call it FL2AC, active cutaway, and then, but the industry standard that all the retailers around the world understand is EC. So as irrelevant as that seems out there, that's a big change, and so you've got time to actually do that because you actually run out of stock, so you don't have to go and change everything. The logo, we actually changed the way the logo looks, so you can actually read it properly now. Instead of
that was
it looked like
landscape.
Cold Clank.
Cold Clank. That's not good.
So now you can actually looks like Cold Clark. So we did things like that and made it so that when you're on a stage from a distance, you can actually see the logo better. It was all shadowy before, and you
particularly on The Voice in the States.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. How good that was fantastic. Adam Wakefield's
boost.
Adam Wakefield's a great artist of ours, so really fantastic, and that was a fabulous thing.
Could we go back maybe to the start of Cole Clark and just do a brief history timeline?
Who is Clark?
Yep, Adam Cole, Brad Clark. They were both at Mayton, and that's I think Brad was the CEO of Mayton at the time. They wanted to do this project because these guitars are made differently to Maytons and Martin and Gibson and
Spanish heel.
Yeah, they've got a Spanish heel in them, which is a through neck, if you can imagine that. And anyway, Mayton didn't want to do that project, so they left and started Cole Clark. They didn't have any funds, so they got a number of investors. So this isn't a thing where one person owns Cole Clark.
No.
There's actually, I think, 9 or 10 of us. I've actually lost count.
Okay.
It grew from industry people. The guitar was born from the Australian music industry.
Yeah,
to an extent.
The shareholders have only got 2 music industry people in it.
Okay.
The others have got expertise in CNC, in production, engineering. So there's a quite an eclectic sort of
guitar lovers all though.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, who doesn't like guitar?
That's right.
Idiots. That's right. Are there people out there?
I don't think they're not watching our video, so we can call them idiots.
That's it. Exactly. So so that's how it developed. The single biggest shareholder, I think, is only 20%. Because I'd have to do some calculations, but it's not like there's Mr. Cole Clark. Mr. Big with a cigar. And
very democratic sort of.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so
arrangement
works very well. So that's Cole Clark, and the Spanish heel is the way Spanish have been making guitars for 300 years plus, and like going back, probably 1,000 years. Double basses and cellos and everything were made this way, which is basically you lay a face, you glue the neck to the face, and you glue the sides into the neck.
Yeah.
And then the back goes
Craig's
on.
just grabbing a educational aid.
That I should have prepared.
Oh, yes.
The half-price guitar.
We have this. We have the half-price guitar.
So you can see that has got that is all kind of, it's a heel block joined to the neck, but the neck goes all the way through to there, whereas normally it's a box which stops, and then you either bolt the neck on, like say Taylor or there's lots of people who do that, or you
Seagull,
right? Or you dovetail it on, like Martin and Mayton and Gibson. So there's a bit of more than 10 and more used to be on. I don't think there is anymore. But so that's the other way. And don't get me wrong. This is not we make the best guitar in the world and all the other guitars suck. This is
different.
not that.
Make it different.
They're just different. You know, he or she who ends up with the most guitars wins. And I've got guitar acquisition syndrome myself.
Yeah,
and
Dave's got gas, but it's got nothing to do with guitars.
that's right. Yeah, exactly. So look, it's a different sound. It's just a different sound because of that Spanish heel. That's what gives you the different sound. It's not the bracing. It's not the fact that our bracing is totally different. Our tops are carved top. It's not that. It's this that gives the actual tonal difference.
And I suppose in a playability sense, you don't have that block on the back there. It runs into the cutaway, so it's totally smooth. So great feeling for electric players.
Yeah, and look, I own a Martin. I own an old 1910 Washburn and a Breedlove.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, we all own lots of guitars.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, and they're all great. So
they're all different.
Yeah. Well, see if my friends at Maton can give me a deal at a Maton.
Yeah, why not? Do a swapsies.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, people are often like, oh, you know, you're either a Maton guy or a Martin or a Cole Clark guy. It's like,
Yeah, tell that to someone with 40 guitars.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They're the people with one guitar.
It's not the Ford Holden thing, is it?
No, it's like, you know,
You've got to catch them all.
to me,
They're Pokemons.
to me, you should have guitars made both ways.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'd much rather people see people owning two Australian guitars than, you know, our guitar and an American guitar.
Yeah.
So, you know, look, in Melbourne we've got a unique thing. When you think about it, there's the whole of Europe. I don't think there's a company that does more than about 1,000 acoustic guitars a year. Whereas in Melbourne we've got two.
Yeah.
You know, I think Maton do 6,000-7,000 or something. And we do about 3.5, 4.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic. We between us employ 100 odd people. There's there's a Northern Metropolitan College of TAFE guitar making course that people do and come out and get a job in a guitar. So there's a whole industry around it.
Definitely.
Our wood suppliers, some of those are purely supplying us or us and Maton or whatever. So there's people all sorts.
It's an industry built
down the
built
chain.
around it. Yeah.
There's probably 120 or 30 people, families, whatever.
And you go for a walk through the Cole Clark factory or the Maton factory, and it's hello. They're all like customers.
Yeah, right. That's right. Exactly.
Just about on first name basis with the guy sweeping the floor right up to
the
CEO.
Right.
So yeah.
So I've been collecting wood today, so I'm not dressed for
It's good to see the CEO getting his hands dirty.
That's right.
Miles has been out to Dalesford. He wasn't felling a tree today.
No, we were.
Sometimes he does.
We sometimes
with Carl.
felt. Yep, I become Carl's labourer.
Yep.
He's the cantankerous chainsaw guy. No, he's great. He's fantastic.
He is. But you were just selecting timber today.
Yeah, we've got one of our wood suppliers in Dalesford, so we do pick up and always talk about different woods that we can use in the future and different things that we need and we use a lot of companies have a philosophy of like everything's a spruce top and everything's rosewood or mahogany back and sides or a derivative of that and everything's a ebony or rosewood fretboard.
Yeah.
That's never been Cole Clark.
No.
And it's certainly, with rosewood, it's increasingly everybody with the rosewood CITES problem. That's everyone's having to face that reality.
Yeah.
I was about to ask you, not all our customers or perhaps even listeners kind of know what's going on with the world of rosewood.
Would you like my version?
Please.
Definitely. We all have our versions. I think yours is probably more educated than most.
Okay, so CITES is the World Organisation for the Protection of Plants and Animals.
Yep.
So they protect rhinoceros, gorillas and elephants, and rosewood. Rosewood was, I think, statistically the most illegally traded product.
Wow.
In the last few years.
Yep.
I've heard reports that there's kind of 20% of the world's rosewood left.
Alright.
Okay.
And
That's going like Brazilian and Indian.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's certain rosewoods, I think, which are basically all over, and there's some that there's kind of a bit of.
And you're talking growing rosewood as opposed to rosewood stores.
Yeah, rosewood grow in forests.
Yeah.
So alive forests, and all of that. So apparently, figure I've read is 20% of the world's rosewood, and some places just decimated to nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard to tell the difference between the different rosewoods for a customs agent.
Yeah.
They didn't make it, Madagascan or Indian or whatever illegal. They made the whole lot illegal because they can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what the CITES, so it's listed on CITES, which means that you can't ship it across a border without CITES documentation. Now we've got some rosewood that we had before the CITES ruling, and we've got CITES certificates for that. So we just had a shipment that went to America and had a little bit of rosewood on it. Some countries actually don't, even though that's legal rosewood, they actually don't take any rosewood.
Yeah, okay.
So Italy, Germany, Canada, you can't ship rosewood in, even if it's pre-CITES listed. Now, before you panic out there, as a musician, you can travel anywhere you want as a musician with $10,000 worth of guitars or musical instruments with rosewood on them.
Okay.
So this is a thing that applies to commercial quantities.
That's
CITES
right.
regulation.
Yeah. Now, my understanding is that if you try and Craig, if you want to sell a guitar to a guy in Oklahoma, and it's got rosewood, and you go to ship it, I think you're going to have problems. That will, if it's opened and inspected, it'll be confiscated.
Okay.
But if you're travelling with the same instrument,
You're
Travelling
right.
personally, no problem.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
You'll have to drop them off yourself.
Yeah.
that's it. Unless you've got CITES certificates, and
Yeah.
that's complicated.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had to get audited and stat decks from our accountant and inspections and all of that. So it's really good. I mean, a lot of people in the industry are sort of approaching it from the angle of this is some bureaucrats who have set out to make our life difficult. We're probably quite a green company in all of that. Guitar companies, everybody assumes because it's artistic and because they're wonderful things that none of the timbers we use are endangered. If you get on the red, what we call it's the red list. If you Google red list, it's the international organisation for plants and animal preservation. Yeah, it gives you a list of what's endangered and what's vulnerable and what's whatever. And if you go through that, you've got ebony is endangered.
Yeah.
It just is. Sorry. So is rosewood. So is most mahoganies.
With your use with black bean, was that pre-CITES that you started to do that and you started making the eco-friendly guitar?
Well, we sort of thought. I mean, we were in a unique position that most of our guitars, for example, this one, which I didn't do, which was that's bunya. That's a sustainable timber which comes from plantation, and it takes sort of 80 years to grow to guitar making size. Same with blackwood, about 80 years. Queensland maple, same sort of thing. So all these things are sustainable timbers, and most of our guitars are. And then what we had was a situation that every part of the guitar was sustainable except for the fingerboard, which was mainly rosewood, and there was a bit of ebony. So completely separate to any CITES thing, we decided that we would introduce black bean fretboards, an alternate fretboard, which this is a black bean fretboard, which meant that we introduced that Eco series 2 years before the CITES thing happened, and purely to have a sustainable guitar, so that because there's not many guitars you can look on a wall and go, it's sustainable. Like I'm looking at every guitar, you can't see it from where I am, but every guitar over there I'm looking at looks like it's got rosewood fingerboard, which means that it's not sustainable. It's legal. Yeah, well, there'll be a change
in the future.
Yeah, that's right.
But you know, and even spruce tops are sustainable. Well, they're not endangered, but you need a 250-year-old tree to.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's not many 250-year-old trees left in Sitka, and that's where the affordable spruce kind of comes from. So there's all sorts of issues. So we sort of said, well, let's make a sustainable thing. By the time we hit the CITES thing happened, 32% of our business was actually sustainable guitars with a blank bean fretboard, and our customers and our distributors, our importers worldwide, because we export to like 24 odd countries. They all said, yeah, well, we like black bean, it's great.
Yeah.
Sounds great, it's sustainable. And
looks different.
Yeah, and a lot of the Europeans had moved to it anyway.
Yeah,
Said, we're fine with just taking that because...
So you're ahead of the curve here, and they're ahead of the curve.
Yeah, so we were really lucky, and there was a lot of companies that suddenly couldn't ship any guitars because everything had rosewood, and it was, we were like, ho-hum, great.
And something you don't see on a lot of acoustic guitars, which I love, is maple.
Well, that's not maple.
That's not maple. That's satin box. There you go.
So
genus of
the satin box.
Yeah. Okay.
It's actually, we were looking at today and we could not pronounce it.
Okay.
It's actually had a name change to make it. It is a really unpronounceable Latin name, and it's absolutely it's a large bush which comes from the Otways. And it grows in the runouts, kind of where blackwood grows.
Yeah, okay. It's absolutely gorgeous, and
it's kind of between rosewood and ebony in there. A little bit, and it's so it's a lovely timber. So you treat it like rosewood. You oil it with lemon oil and all that stuff.
Cool.
Whereas what's it called? Maple is actually super hard and brittle sounding.
Yeah, sure.
So it's a top end.
You tend to not oil it.
Well, most maple's lacquered.
Well,
Yeah, most maple fretboards are lacquered.
Dirties off really quick. But this doesn't seem to dirty off. I think it's because it's got oil. It's kind of oil. But it's
we've protection.
Yeah, we've had it solidly played in trade fairs and dealer visits and everything around Europe. For 3 weeks we had a guitar that was played every day for hours, and it had no change at the end of that 3-week period. So great sounding fingerboard. That's my guitar.
I love it.
Yeah,
I like the look of it as well.
Got that with a redwood top and a blackwood back. So it's fantastic, beautiful.
So, having to move away from spruce, you experiment then a lot with other timbers on the body as well.
Yes. So on tops, spruce. I don't know what you guys think, but probably most companies it's 97% of what they sell.
Yep.
And we're the tiresome 3%. 3% of what we sell is spruce. We're the other 3%.
Well, it was interesting because I'm not sure if it was you or Roy bought out a spruce top that was for a customer that didn't pick it up, and I thought it's different. Stick it on the wall.
Yeah.
Didn't sell.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's gone back to you guys to find another home somewhere. So
hang on our wall.
Yeah, that's right. So that's what Cold Clark is. It's unique, exotic grains.
Look, sometimes someone will say, "Look, I really like the Spanish heel. I really like the sound of the preamp and the pickup." But I'm just a spruce guy.
Yeah.
And I'm a spruce rosewood guy. I'm a spruce, whatever guy. And we make guitars for that guy as well.
Yeah.
So we make guitars. They all sound different, and different people like different guitars.
And that's another benefit of having two great Australian guitar manufacturers, that you can go and get a custom guitar built. With not a huge amount of upcharge to it, depending on what you do, but it's
basically $500 at retail is a custom guitar.
Starts it off, and
then you
pick the base model.
Well, then you start with the guitar. You might say, "Look, I really like this guitar here, but I want it with a dot inlays.
Yeah.
Well, that becomes a custom guitar. That's a very basic one, but that becomes a custom guitar. You know, you might want your name written on the 12th fret. You might want, you know, there's lots of things you can do. But you get $500 upcharge because we've got to make, you know, we've got to stop the CNC machine, make one fretboard and all that stuff. So, and we've got to follow that guitar all the way through.
Yeah, that's right.
We joke in the factory that, you know, I think the record is we started a custom guitar 7 times.
Wow.
Just because, you know, it goes through the factory and everyone's used to, oh, that's the Bunny Blackwood. Check this on. Yeah, the Bunny Blackwood. Check, you know, and then it goes, this is a Bunny Blackwood. It's a custom. It's a custom. You know, it's like, oh no, we put the wrong fretboard on it.
Oh no.
Start it again. You know,
Respray it. Help.
So we have to look at the guitar every couple of days. Someone has to go and grab that
That's
guitar.
where the money goes.
Yeah, that's why the $500.
Which is fair enough.
So $500 at retail, and so that's the custom thing. But yeah, look, in tops, the biggest 3 selling tops, and literally they're a third of our business each, is Bunya, Blackwood, and Redwood. That top there's a Redwood top. What's that top? That's a Blackwood top.
That's a Blackwood.
Okay. So basically, look, some of our guitar timbers are extraordinary looking, and you could be lulled into the falseness of it all by saying what we do is we make guitars by the way they look. That's actually not what it is. We make guitars by what they sound. The amount of woods that we reject because they don't sound any good is, you know, there's lots of them. And at the same time, if a guitar happens to sound, if a wood sounds fantastic and it happens to look good,
Bonus.
I'm not going to apologise.
No, that's right. No.
So Redwood is in the same family as Western Red Cedar. Western Red Cedar is not actually cedar. It's not in the cedar family.
Okay.
It's in the Redwood family. So it's actually sort of fairly similar sound to cedar, a little bit denser.
Yeah.
I really like Redwood.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Acoustically quite big and open. Not as much compression as cedar. So compression is when
So if we could say spruce, cedar, redwood in the middle.
well, you're going cedar, redwood, spruce, bunya,
Yeah.
blackwood
Yeah. Okay.
in density.
Yeah. Okay.
So so the one thing about having the through neck is that there's less compression. Let's talk about compression. Compression is when you strum a guitar super hard, it gets to its maximum volume, and you know, there's guitars that with, you know, you can strum super hard and it'll go further. You know, it'll go to 11. And if I'm thinking about a Martin, you know, I'm probably going to be looking at a spruce rosewood or spruce mahogany of what's some sort of mahogany. A lot of the times companies won't say, they'll just say mahogany.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it mahogany?
There's lots of different mahoganies.
Is it African? Is it like, what is it? You know. But anyway, mahogany. So that's what I'd be thinking if I was buying a Martin. But if I'm buying a Cole Clark, but I'm thinking that Martin acoustic sound, that American-y sort of sound, then I'd be thinking Redwood in a Cole Clark.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a similar sort of compression sort of thing.
When you take into the
Whereas
consideration of heel and all that. Yeah.
Whereas if you put a redwood top on those, you get more compression than you would on ours because of the Spanish heel. That's my feeling.
So the Spanish heel causes less compression?
Yeah.
Okay.
So more transference into the back and sides, or into the top, or
Well, just more dynamic range because it'll go further.
But I'm just picturing that it's allowing the whole
Well, if you can imagine
to vibrate more.
Yeah, if you imagine the waveform, you know, if it compresses, it kind of goes like this.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's not compressing, it's allowing it to continue further up.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's look, sound's a really hard one. You play a lot of guitars and you go, you know, what am I hearing and all that. But yeah, you need to play it yourself and decide. But
And it changes from room to room that you play it in as well. I often say to customers, you'll get it home, and if you think it sounded great here, get it in your favourite room at home that you play guitar in, and then you're really going to hear it. And, yeah.
That's right. And look, the compression thing is so the next timber up is Bunya. The next biggest selling, the three big Bunya's in the middle, and then Blackwood's the densest. So we'll go straight to Blackwood, come back to Bunya. Blackwood is the densest timber we make. It's actually a really close cousin to Koa. Like they say, one genetic sequence different.
Yeah.
Got a very similar grain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, it can look identical to Koa if it's grown in the same conditions as Koa, or it can look totally different. So it's very like Koa, very similar sound and everything. Acoustically, it's interesting, but I wouldn't say it's our best acoustic sit in a lounge room guitar, although some people really like it. But that's just where I'm from. But plugged in, often stiffer, denser guitars sound better plugged in
and less prone to feedback.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, if you look at guitars that are probably famous through history for plugging in, things like Ovation.
That's right.
And
they didn't sound fantastic acoustically.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're quite dense. Yeah, quite dense. Whereas if you get something like a Martin D28 and you put a pickup in it and you plug it in, it doesn't sound very good plugged in because it's too woolly and woofy.
That's right.
It's too much happening. It's too much.
I used to play a D16 in a 6-piece band and it'd constantly get lost.
Yeah.
It was the wrong guitar for that band, which I found out probably 15 years later. Too late. But yeah, in that case.
Yeah. But great acoustically.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, sitting in the lounge room.
Recording it was amazing, but just amplified it wasn't.
So that's the thing. So Blackwood is incredible for that, and it's also great. A lot of people play percussive players who hit the guitars, play our guitars because we've got a face sensor in it, so it just is made for it. Blackwood is going to handle more.
Yeah.
Having said that, no guitar in the world is guaranteed when you hit it.
They are not meant to be played like that, although a lot of people do.
Well, no, we appreciate the art form. That's great.
Definitely.
Get a good relationship with your repairer.
Or hire a conga player.
No, it's a really good thing, but if you hit too hard, it will break, and then you get it repaired. It's not we strive to get it so that when you play with your fingers or a pick, that it is as loud and as sweet sounding as we can, depending on how you play. Yeah. That's what we do. We don't say, right, what we're doing here is we're going to put some strings on it, but we really don't care about the strings. What we want to do is to hit the crap out of it so it doesn't break. We made one of our artists was just destroying guitars, so we actually stiffened this guitar up for him. It sounds it's the worst sounding acoustic you've ever heard. Plugged in, it sounds great. It still sounds great. But it's so stiff. Yeah. But he's beat the crap out of it and he can't break it.
Yeah, so that's good. Must have a bit of heft to it.
It does. Yeah. It's unbelievably heavy. That's Daniel Champagne for anybody out there.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel. Sorry to say your guitar sounds crap. But no, it doesn't. So that's Blackwood. This is in the middle. So, and when we sort of say, well, Redwood does the non-stiff thing really well. This does the middle, a little bit stiffer thing really well. Spruce is just a little bit less stiff than this, just a tiny bit. So, but then you sort of say, well, okay, amplified, this is going to be better than the spruce. It's going to have a little bit more dynamic range than the spruce. But then that's going to sound better acoustically than the spruce. So for most people, they sort of say spruce is in no man's land in the middle a little bit. But some people pick up a guitar that's got spruce on it and go, "Yeah, that's great. I'll buy that." And some people have, some old boy has told them at some point that every guitar in the world should have a spruce. Generally.
We know people like that.
Yeah, that's it, and that's great. Whatever.
Yeah. Again, it's up to the individual of what sounds good, what plays good.
We all hear differently.
Yeah, that's right.
What's good to me might be good for everyone else.
And going back to what I was saying, what suits the situation. Don't buy a spruce mahogany guitar for a 6-piece acoustic rock band.
Yeah, I've heard some guys, play our guitars, and it's like this guy sounds, for him that the best, it's unbelievable acoustic sound on the bunya, and not so much on the redwood. He hits in a certain way, hits too hard, and then the next guy's like just unbelievable on the redwood. Yeah, not quite doing it on the, just because of the way they actually play.
Individually tailored to your own style.
We don't want to say Taylor too much.
I was going to say something there. I thought, no.
They're fine people too.
They are. We probably should wrap it up.
There's a couple of other things I'd like to ask. You recently put in a plec machine?
We did.
Yes.
So what does that mean? What
so plec. We want to dress our frets when we make a guitar. So what we do is, so that when you press down, there's no fret sticking up in front of it. And if you've got a perfect fret dress that there's nothing sticking up at all, that means that you can, at any given action, have less buzz. Okay,
less buzz, very diplomatic. Well, there's no such thing as no buzz, people. It depends on how you play.
If you play extremely hard, you're going to have a higher action, and there's no
you
such
can probably
thing
still make it buzz even if you do set it up.
That's right. That's right. So basically, this is a German machine from Berlin, and it scans the fretboard to within a 1500th of a millimetre, and the nut, and then it cuts the frets to within a 1500th of a millimetre. It cuts it scans the frets for under each string, so it actually is not doing when you do it by hand, you get a fret dressing block, and you're dressing a whole group of frets at the same time. This is saying, gee, the fret on the 7th fret on the bottom E is slightly higher than that fret there, but this isn't here.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm going to fix that bit there.
Yeah, okay.
And it's by 0.01 of a millimetre.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes out of the machine, do you then have to finish off the frets, polish them, or is it...
Yeah. So what happens is they get scarring on them.
Yeah. Okay.
So you just, I don't know, for a while Gibson was making, their Les Pauls was doing they had scarring on the frets. And people go, this is terrible. Actually makes no difference. Yeah. It's just a cosmetic thing.
Yeah, okay.
So you just, a bit of steel wool and they'll take that off.
Yeah, cool.
That's the plec machine.
So every guitar
is plecked.
And artists can bring other guitars
to
Cole Clark to have them plecked.
And to give you an idea, if you go to Glazer Guitars in Nashville and get your guitar plecked, which just about every pro guitarist in the US does, Tommy Emmanuel does, everybody does, it's $399 US to get it done. So it's basically $500 Australian to get it done. So, it's if you're buying a little lady at $14.99,
that's a
been
guitar, by the way, in case you...
That's right.
Keeping it diplomatic.
I was in a shop the other day and I said, I've got a little lady in the car. And there was a woman standing in the car and she turned around and looked, no.
Good thing you didn't have a fat lady in the car. That might not have gone down so well.
Right. And I suppose we can't have you here without asking the question. Basses.
Oh,
basses.
We've been waiting so long and so patiently.
I could have actually bought a thing that looked like a bass that's off our CNC.
Okay.
So we are very close to having working prototypes off our production. We've made handmade prototypes. So we've got a 4-string done that basically looks like a bass and is very close. So we are on track for having about 8 basses made in our production facility here.
This is electric basses,
yeah?
Yep. This is the Kennedy basses.
Which we did with Neil Kennedy, who's is a bass maker in Melbourne, has been for 30 years.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of custom built Kennedys out there for people.
Lots of them, yeah. So So he's great. Neil's fabulous, and he designed this bass, and it's a terrific bass. And people sort of play it and say, "Look, an acoustic guitar company has got no right to be able to make it." Actually works like this first up, and we don't have any right to do it really. But that's why we went and saw Neil. So it's a Cole Clark Kennedy bass. It'll have the K for Kennedy, and designed by Neil Kennedy. And then so we expect to have that there, and then So the prototypes at NAMM in January, which is a big show in Anaheim, California. It's the World Trade Fair. 100,000 people go, 110,000 or something like that.
Yeah. Yes,
it's big.
I've never seen anything as big as that.
Yeah, and there's no customers allowed. That's just music shop people.
That's right.
Frightening.
It is absolutely.
Well, there's a lot of artist guests and stuff, and all that sort of hangers on. But that's a lot of fun.
There's a good student contingency this year as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Lots of
milling around the place.
Yeah, a lot of the bands play. A lot of brass bands play when they come in and stuff. So that's basically we have that there, and then first production run will probably happen April, May, something like that. Yep. So I would expect to take the 3-minute trip down here.
I'm sure we've got some on order.
We're very keen, and it kind of works for it. It's making it very desirable the longer we wait. But
I know. Look, it's
absolutely amazing.
It's like everything. It's about a year late.
Yeah, like everything. That's right. Yeah.
But other projects run over, and that puts this project down further, and it goes on and on and on. So it's you always think that these things are not going to take as long as they do, and they always do take longer.
They always do.
So.
Like interviews.
That's right.
Yeah,
that was a 44-minute, 30-minute interview.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
Thank you for watching. If you did,
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out, Miles.
Hey, great to see you guys.
Yeah,
Thanks,
always.
Miles. Good to have a chat.
Thank you. Yes. And that's it for another week. We'll see you all next week.
Au revoir.
See ya.